all the other city folks are on there also.
Good. Okay, well, we'll deal with it then.
Thank you.
Now, this has been over a year, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was July of last year when we first brought it forward. We got the approval for the financing from Penvest in October, and then Penvest has all sorts of fund requirements, I'll say, and then we got into COVID world, and
Yeah, trust me.
and you know.
Well, if there's any background, just to refresh my memory before Monday's meeting, if you could send it to me, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
That way I'll spend my weekend reading up and getting ready for Monday.
Bernie, so you know, Amanda and Pete have already duked it out, and Pete will take the Penvest financing ordinance.
We'll keep it in Public Works.
That I just emailed to you.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, start it with me. You might as well keep it with me. I agree with Amanda.
So Pete, I'll send you a link to, just because I have it up, the committee meeting minutes from July
Okay.
of 19 that I think you were there. Okay. Anyway, I'll send this to you just so you have some of the background, because we described the projects in the meeting.
Good. Yeah, I vaguely remember it. I know it's been a while. Because I believe there's several items out there that have been pending for a while because of COVID. Am I wrong?
No, there's there's seemingly a never-ending list of things that are still out there, delayed due to COVID.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. I have Councilors Arroyo and Soto and Beke. Just waiting on Councilor Garcia Molina. We're going to have some excused absences this evening. But we'll talk about those once we get into actually calling the roll of members. Also, I'll say that using the phrase excused absences makes me feel like a teacher and much more important in the time of this pandemic than I actually am. I know that we are live at the moment, and we're not actually in the meeting. Just want to take a moment, and I'll do this again. Just want to take a moment to encourage everybody. Hey, please, if you're not already doing it, wear your mask, get tested. You can get tested at CVS. I know that there are some other sites doing some asymptomatic testing. You can get very, fashionable masks wherever you are. I am the proud owner of like 4 or 5 African print masks and like 4 or 5 like bougie New England semaphore print masks, just to like capture all parts of my identity. And if you ever see me, I will have on my person 3 or 4 of these kind of disposable masks. So, just do everything you can to keep yourself and others safe. This is like a good God, whatever, it's my meeting. Like a lot of the time that when we say like, we're in this together, frankly, like it's kind of horse shit, right? Like, okay, like my life is very different than your life. And like the way that like a pandemic affects your life is different than mine. And I don't know if there's any particular, rule against swearing in a public meeting, though I did see Patrick Hopkins look at me. But really this is like a space where like, a very simple thing for you to do is just put this bad boy on when you go outside, or like not start a ruckus when you walk into a store and somebody asks you to wear one. And you can quite literally save a life by doing this. This thing will be the easiest life you ever saved. So go ahead and do that for me if you can. All right. Welcome to the October 27th meeting of the Council of the City of Lancaster. My name is Ismail Smith-Waddell, City Council President. Mr. Harris, if you would be so kind as to call the roll of members.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Arroyo,
Here.
Ms. Beke,
Here.
Ms. Craig, Ms. Diaz, Mr. Garcia Molina,
Here.
Mr. Soto,
Here.
and President Smith-Waddell.
Here. Excellent. Give me just a second here. I'm sorry. Councilors Diaz and Craig are excused this evening. Approval of the minutes for the October 13th meeting. I'll hear a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Council comments. Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo,
Aye.
Ms. Beke,
Aye.
Mr. Garcia Molina,
Aye.
Mr. Soto,
Aye.
and President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. Excellent. All right, the minutes have passed. Proclamations, honors, awards, and resolutions of recognition.
We have none tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Public comment reserved for citizens who have contacted the city clerk prior to the meeting to request the opportunity to address city council. Do we have any this evening, Mr. Harris?
We do not, Mr. President.
All right, that moves us to reports requested by council. My understanding is that we have two of those this evening, Mr. Harris. Is that correct?
We do.
And what two are actually, if everybody would bear with me in switching up the order, I would, if Councilor Beke, you are prepared, like to bring the interim reports of council up one agenda item. And so we'll do your interim report, and then we'll go into the reports from the Community Police Working Group, as well as, do we have saldo amendments that we need to have a report for?
Sure.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah, Councilor Beke, please, sorry, interim reports of committees of council.
Thank you.
Councilor Beke, Finance.
Yes, I do have a report, Mr. President, and thank you for that. As you are aware, the city is self-insured for workers' compensation costs. Every year, the funds to pay workers' compensation claims are included in the individual department budgets, but those claims are paid from administrative services budget. So on a quarterly basis, we shift money from the departments where those injured workers have made claims to the administrative services budget to cover those costs. For the third quarter of this year, workers' comp claims were made by city police officers, firefighters, and public works staff members. A total of $67,166.67 is being moved from those departments to administrative services. Because this money is being moved between departments, this requires city council approval. Therefore, I make a motion to approve the third quarter workers' compensation transfers totaling $61,166.67 as proposed.
Second.
Thank you.
Sorry. So we have a motion and a second. Are there any council comments on the motion?
Only that council has been provided with a breakdown of those costs.
From the public. Also, everybody, hey, if you're not yet familiar, if you want to make a public comment, though maybe this is not the place that you're really motivated to do so, you can click the little raise hand button that appears at the bottom of your Zoom call screen, and we'll have you added to the meeting. But not seeing any public comments, Mr. Harris.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Arroyo,
Aye.
Ms. Beke,
Aye.
Mr. Garcia Molina,
Aye.
Mr. Soto, Mr.
Aye.
Soto,
Aye.
and President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. All right. Go on, Councillor Beke.
Now I'm muted. That was all I had, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Councillor Beke and the rest of the Finance Committee, which moves us back again to reports requested by Council. We have the Community and Police Working Group Strategic Plan presentation. If everybody who is present, I see several members of the Community Police Working Group are present on the call. It looks like about 5 or 6 of you. Can we add, if you are presenting this evening and you have not already been added to the call, please raise your hand if you're actually presenting. Okay, please add Ms. Sanchez to the meeting and Patricia Hobson-Shelton, Sergeant Morant.
I'm working on it.
Yep, great.
Mr. President,
Councilor Garcia-Molina.
most members that are present will be joining us even if they won't be presenting for the entirety of the
Okay,
presentation.
great, excellent to hear from them. Sergeant Morant, can you answer a question for me before I call on them?
Yeah.
Hey, Sergeant Morant.
How are you?
Before we go ahead and add him, what is the appropriate rank for Dorsey Sumrall?
He is a sergeant.
Can we please add Sergeant Sumrall to the meeting as well? I hate to get anybody's rank wrong. My dad was in the Navy. It's a thing that like irks at me when I do it. So, oh, and we have the Honorable Jody Richardson as well. Vanessa Philbert, Daisy Plaza. Thank you. So I'm going to turn this over briefly to Councilor Garcia-Molina, who will turn it over to who needs to go there. But I will take a second to say that, like, this has been an unimaginably challenging 6 months for the question of public safety in the city of Lancaster. And I think that everybody talks a big game, and in terms of, like talking a big game, I'm as much one of those people as anybody else, but just want to take a moment to recognize that, like, these are the people who are actually really willing to get engaged and dig their hands in on the question of, like, okay, yes, we have problems, we need resolutions, what do we need to do, and actually try to come up with solutions and engage the community on that front. So I introduce to you the Community Police Working Group and their council liaison, Councilor Garcia-Molina, Chair of the Public Safety Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am really excited for the community and for all of you that haven't had a chance to get to know the Community Police Working Group, to hear this presentation that they've worked so hard for. I think that one of my favorite things that I've been able to be a part of during my time on council is to be a part of the Community Police Working Group. It's full of so many passionate community members and city administration staff and people from our police department, as well as myself from council and council colleagues who contribute so much to this work. It's all volunteer work. So the fact that they gather every week for the past 2 years, really, to do a wide variety of tasks, really at the heart of it, to make our community better, especially around racial equity and community policing, is something that I'm just very excited for everyone to get to know. I won't be talking much longer because I know we have 20 minutes and a lot of information to present, but I believe that the mayor also has a few words before they present. So I'm going to pass it off to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Garcia-Molina. I just want to begin by saying how honored I am to work alongside each of the members of the Community Police Working Group. Really have poured so much of yourselves both in the strategic planning document and other work that you're going to hear about tonight. Back in 2018, we could not have imagined how essential and vital the work of the Community Police Working Group would be here in the year of 2020. But I definitely feel that and appreciate all that each of you have contributed over our many, many meetings. I recognize that this group has shown up in our community's most challenging times, and have asked really hard questions, brought great ideas forward, and have been at the table representing neighborhoods, police, community organizations, faith community, and of course the city administration. I know that there's a lot more work to be done, and you all have worked tirelessly in developing a strategic plan, which you are going to share tonight. And so I encourage everybody who's listening to sit back and take this in and know that you'll have an opportunity for input. Thank you very much.
So Delia and Sergeant Moran, who are co-chairs, really will be leading this presentation. So Delia, whenever you're ready, it's all yours. You're muted. Still muted. It happens all the time.
All right, I'm unmuted now. My computer is saying the battery is low. I am so sorry, I apologize. But for starters, I'd like to say good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us. Allow me to introduce ourselves, or allow me to introduce us. I lost my page. Okay, for starters, my name is Delia Sanchez, and I am a resident of Lancaster City for the past 44 years. In addition to myself, there is Sergeant Donald Morant, Xavier Garcia Molina, the Honorable Jody Richardson,
So I believe that her laptop might have died.
That is what it sounds like happened. I heard that actually.
No worries. So until she comes back, I'm sure it's going to take her just a few minutes. I'll continue for her on her behalf. We prepped together just not too long ago. But also with us in the Community Police Working Group, we have Vanessa Filbert, Daisy Plaza, Pastor Roland Forbes, Patricia Hobson Shelton. We have Deneen Sirachi, Sergeant Dorsey Summerall, Milsey Carrasco. And really, when we're looking at co-chairs, the ones that are kind of leading and stepping up to the plate, we have co-chairs. So we have Delia Sanchez as well as Sergeant Donald Moran. Do you want to go to the next slide, Milsey? Thank you. So we wanted to start out by letting the community know really, and council, kind of the history and the story of how the Community Police Working Group got together. So during the summer of 2018, the Lancaster branch of the NAACP identified the need in our community for a group that was dedicated to improving trust between the police and the community by reforming police policies. So over the next 2 years, a committed core group of the mayor's office, the DOJ, the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, different stakeholders and individuals from the community that came together to meet this need, which is what formed the Lancaster City's Police and Community Working Group. Now that we've finished our strategic plan with so much input from the community already, we are excited to present ourselves to the City of Lancaster, and we are prepared to advocate on behalf of and work with the community.
Oh, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Welcome back, Delia.
Sorry, I apologize.
We figured as much. It's okay. So I guided us through who we are, so all the people that are in it, and then I just did the About Us slide background. So we are at the Why the Community Police Working Group, and it's all yours.
All right. Thank you, Xavier. I appreciate you.
Claro.
So why the Community Police Working Group? Strong relationships of mutual trust between Lancaster City Police and the community they serve are critical to maintaining public safety and effective policing. Police officials rely on the cooperation of community members to work with the police on solutions to crime and disorder problems. Similarly, community members' willingness to trust the police depends on whether they believe that police actions reflect community values and incorporate justice and legitimacy. CPWG has formed the bridge of responding to the community needs and building relationships with the Lancaster City Police Department for a proactive approach to community responses through the areas of focus highlighted in our strategic plan. One thing important to note, the strategic plan was created in line with both community and police input. We are excited to be here and share this with you. After many conversations and many meetings, some of these conversations were very intense. We were able to come up with a mission, vision, and values. Our mission, the Community Police Working Group, is a committed group of residents, organization leaders, and city and police administration advocating on behalf of our Black, Brown, and other marginalized communities. We build trust, collaboration, and mutual understanding and respect among the community and police to create a just, safe, and equitable Lancaster City. Our vision. The Lancaster City Community Police Working Group envisions an empowered, unified community committed to fairness, transparency, and integrity. Our values. Integrity, courage, respect, compassion, and intention. Although we have just started this process to become engaged within our community, we have, as far as sharing the strategic plan with you, we have had many achievements as a group. Part of our achievements were assisting in the revision of the use of force policy, the body cams, and also the civilian complaint form, which the use of force policy and the civilian complaint form are also available in Spanish. We've hosted and facilitated 5 community meetings, one on Bright Side, which was related to the tasing incident. Then we had 4 town halls related to the strategic plan, one of which was done with the students of J.P. McCaskey High School. We've been involved in emergency response with the officer-involved shooting on Laurel Street, and we've also been present at all recent protests. During the recent protests, the Community Police Working Group was present. We offered a listening ear and provided factual information. At this time, I would like to open it up to our group if they would like to share any of anything that they're most proud of during our time together. Anyone want to join?
Yeah, I would like to, this is Sergeant Don Morant. All right, everybody. Thanks for having us again. I just want to, we worked hard on this, and before I was able to get the strategic plan put together. So it was a great experience for me working with everybody, and I look forward to continuing the work that we've been doing for the community.
Anyone else want to join in?
Yeah, this is Milsey Carrasco. I'll echo that we've had some tough conversations and really honored and feel proud of the work of this working group. And we've made it to this point where there's actually a strategic plan, and now the work really starts to, now we get to start on the work. So excited about that, and excited about the opportunities that this working group can support our community. So I'm really appreciative of everyone on the group.
And let me add to that, Roland Forbes, let me add to that, that this has been a labor of love and sweat equity, because we're not just trying to help the community, we are a part of the community. We're concerned about the lives of our people and the quality of life of our city. And our desire is to create a model of policing and community that would be reflective not only of the heart of the city, but a model for other people with desire to follow.
This is Patricia, and I mean, this started out as a proactive committee. I mean, this was before, we had all of the concerns. And so I just thought that in itself was very positive. And so we were able to grow from that. These are some of the most committed people I've ever worked with. They are very cooperative and they just really want the best for the city. So I hope that they come to be appreciated.
Thank
Good
you.
evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jody Richardson, and I just want to say I just thank every single member in this group. We started, a couple years ago. We've been at the table night after night, invested a lot of our time, and we've had tough conversations. We've had good conversations, but we were able to, come together and get the work done, and we still have a lot of work to do. For me, as a vested member of this community and a leader of Lancaster City, it's important for me and everyone else to give back in any way that you can, to be a resource, to help assist in breaking down barriers and stereotypes, to helping others advocate for themselves, to provide programs and services for people, to build trust, and to know that we're all in this together. The most important thing that we can do for everyone is to learn and grow together. It's going to take all of us. So thank you to all the members. Thank you to the community.
Anyone else?
Hi everyone, this is Vanessa Filbert. I would just echo the space for curiosity and learning has been, for me, really important with this group. I think many of you have said just the commitment has been outstanding. It's not easy to get folks to meet every week for a long period of time and still stay grounded and focused in the work. So lots of gratitude for the group and just excited to learn more about how we can be helpful to the Lancaster City community as we continue to do this work.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so I would like to take this moment to say thank you to everyone that is part of this group that has shown the commitment, that has been in there week after week after week, asking the hard questions, holding folks accountable, making sure that we are sincere in our conversations, that we're addressing the needs of our community, that even when times were critical, that we never backed down and that we stood firm in what we believed in. And I really believe that this is an amazing group of individuals and that we are looking forward to moving forward. So thank you for your time. I appreciate your commitment.
Okay, so we are at our strategic plan. I'll be my honor to introduce our strategic plan. Nilsy, next slide. So there are 4 areas of focus of our strategic plan. As you can see, role of the community person working group, race relations, police department hiring practices, and community engagement. Next, please. So the role of the community working group, there's several, I'll read this. The community working group is known for the relationships they have built between the community and the police, their internal and external communications, their ability to respond quickly and effectively in emergencies, and the group's impact on citywide policies and processes that positively impact Black and Brown and other marginalized communities in the city of Lancaster. And we have several strategies. Communications and transparency, emergency response and safety, advising on policies and processes. So as far as our communication and transparency, we've developed a communication process between the police and city administration and the working group in response to community inquiries and emergencies. We've also developed a process to document resident complaints, issues, and resolutions, and identify and create relationships and partnerships with trusted community members to support the work of the community police and working group. Emergencies, response, and safety. The community police working group has trained community police facilitators responding to emergency issues and shares information on what actions can be taken. Create a follow-up plan and process after emergencies and crisis situations. Conduct training below that all community police working group members to step into the liaison role. That's training as far as de-escalation, cultural awareness, leadership development, conflict management, and coalition building. Advising on policies and processes. The community police working group will provide policy and process recommendation to the Lancaster City administrations and police departments related to the use of force, hiring practices, and other policies that have not come to the forefront yet. Next slide, Ilse. Race relations. Develop a community where conversations about race are sustained and cultivate a culture where difficult conversations build mutual respect among all residents. There's 3 strategies that we are looking forward to. You can go to the next. Okay, so under the race relations and strategies, commit to facilitating a minimum of at least 4 conversations annually in partnership with community resource on race relations and creating safe spaces to have conversation at neighborhood meetings and block level meetings. Also to develop a process to identify areas of need or concern within all neighborhoods as a starting point in order to develop a plan for change. And looking forward to support the police department and the chief to ensure that the police department is culturally competent. Recruitment and hiring. Community Police Working Group is involved in hiring a police force that reflects, understands, and values the community they serve. Several strategies for that is the Community Police Working Group is engaged in the recruitment and hiring process of the police officers and now involved in the search for a new chief for our police department. The Community Police Working Group provides recommendations to support recruitment efforts. An example was focused on increasing diversity that reflects the community and hiring of local residents who reside within the city. The group is also advising and supporting the development of a recruitment plan, ensure that community members reflect the community, ensure background investigators are culturally competent and value different cultures. And lastly, community engagement. The police are proactive and engaged in building relationships with the community that create unity and safety in our neighborhoods. A couple of strategies for that: develop a community engagement plan for the police bureau and the police working group that incorporates education on laws, policies, and processes, and ensure the community police working group supports the police engagement team. Determine a method to track and report progress within the community engagement plan. And next steps. Next steps for the community police working group is visit Engage Lancaster for public input on strategic plan. And the website for that is listed below there, www.cityoflancasterpa.com. /community police working group. Release a work plan in early 2021 and the quarterly process reports to council, and which will be posted on the website. And that's all I have. We are in this together, folks.
We sure are. Thank you for presenting.
Thank you both so much for presenting. Milsey, did you want to say any few words, or did anyone else want to say any few words before we open it up to council?
I just, on our city's website is a link to a platform, which is a public participation platform. It's called Engage Lancaster, where you can actually see the entirety of the strategic plan and a lot of the details that Sergeant Morant was sharing, some of those, some additional information. And so what we're encouraging the community to do is help us prioritize some of this work. So you can go on there, make a comment, share likes, share ideas, and it will be all visible and other people can actually see some of your ideas. All of the work is really important on identifying the priority for the strategic plan and bringing that information back. And also, as Sergeant Morant shared, all of our community meetings, every single comment that was shared with us was recorded, and it's also on our website. And that's actually what helped form our strategic plan. So thank you for the opportunity.
And
Thank you, everyone.
I'd like to close by saying, again, this community and police work group, the mission and vision and core values, this is the mission and vision and core values of the community, gathered together by community input. It's not our group's mission and vision. So we did take time to get input from the community. And please use Engage Lancaster. If you see something, hear something, have questions, please reach out to us. Let us know what's going on so that we can get you in the right direction. We're here for everyone, and please use us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody.
Let me also add to that, we're seeking to be proactive and not just responsive. It has been stated that we've responded to different situations, protests. We've tried to engage the community so that there's a very positive image in terms not only of our work, but the work of the city and the police department. There ought not be fear. There ought not be division. And so in such an environment, particularly that reflects a national environment, we want to create an environment in the Lancaster city where we're all unified. That it's not based upon race, it's not based upon your party, it's not based upon gender, but rather every citizen in the city of Lancaster is a part of this great movement that we're having. And so we pray that all of us would join in together and push this effort so that it would be a great success.
And we'd like to build on a community of trust where in fact the community can trust us, we trust the community, we trust the police, and so we're not always having to second guess each other. Hopefully that'll happen.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Reverend Forbes.
Well, thank you again, everyone. And I think for me, it's just has been a nice culmination of all the work that's been done, and to be able to present it to the community and say, this is what we've heard you say to us so far. This is what we've championed for so far. And this is what we're gathering around you all to do this work. But at the same time, we are just beginning and we continue to want your input. So it's really important that if you have the opportunity to go on the website, we understand that not everyone could have made it before to one of our sessions, but this is a great opportunity to bring your input in so that we continue to reflect on that and be able to move forward in a directionality that is more inclusive of everyone's input. And with that, Mr. President, that concludes the Community Police Working Group presentation. Thank you, everyone.
I'll take a moment now to say thank you to Councilor Garcia Molina and thank you to the members of the Community Police Working Group for that thorough report and for your endearing personalities and engagement. if you have, how to put this? This is the, I mean, good God, there's a million things, but this is the thing right now. This is where everybody is focused locally and nationally, especially with what we know happened in Philadelphia last night and is going on right now. And I think we've learned intimately that we're not immune to these national trends. So I thank all of you very much for your ongoing work in this space. We're now going to move to the, I believe we have several saldo amendments, which we have a public hearing for. So who is going to be, is that Mr. Delps or some other party? Oh, also, if you are a member of the Community Police Working Group, Ms. Strazo can, yep, you're doing it. Great. Love it, love it, love it. Please add Mr. Smith, Douglas Smith, and Director Delps to the meeting. All right. Okay, Chris, Douglas, what do you have for us this evening?
Good evening, counselors. Hope you're all doing well. This item on the agenda tonight has largely been Mr. Smith's baby, so we're going to turn it over to him. I've worked on a couple of pieces of this myself, but this has been a labor of love for quite some time, and Douglas would be giving the presentation tonight. I'll stick around in case I might need to answer any additional questions, but I'm just going to pass the baton at this point. Mr. Smith, over to you.
Right. Hold on just a second, Douglas. So this is on the agenda as a public hearing. Is there a recorder or stenographer on the meeting that needs to be added to the meeting? And does anybody need to be sworn in?
Yes, that would be Lisa Miller, and I believe she should be in the waiting room.
Ms. Strazo, would you? Ms. Miller, can you briefly unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
We can, Ms. Miller. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you.
Good. Can you take care of the process of swearing in anybody that needs to be sworn in per the regulations around this public hearing?
Absolutely. Douglas, do you know who I would need to swear in?
I think that would be me, and we should probably swear in Chris Delps too, just in case there are any questions for him as well.
All right, thank you. I will ask you to both raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes, I do.
Thank you so much.
Great. Now that you are so sworn, please proceed.
Thank you so much, Council President, and thank you, Lisa, for swearing us in and being present this evening. Good evening, councilors. Thank you for your time this evening. I'm excited to share these updates with you. If I am able to share my screen, I have a presentation that I can walk you through quickly so you're aware of the amendments. Give me one moment here. There we go. Are you able to see that okay? Okay, so tonight I'm presenting on the proposed amendments to the subdivision and land development ordinance. This was brought to council committee at the beginning of the month of October. First, I just want to mention what we've done in terms of engagement to date. We have, since February of this year, we have met with planning staff, city staff, as well as the Planning Commission. We've met with the Planning Commission 5 times to discuss this item, Shade Tree Commission 1 time to discuss the item. We've had 10 city staff involved, and we also have had a preliminary review by Lancaster County Planning Commission. Their formal recommendation will come on November 10th. I also want to bring to your attention that these ordinance amendments are being made for plan consistency with the active transportation plans, our recent stormwater management plan, the city's climate action plan, urban forest management plan, the Vision Zero plan, which is forthcoming, and our previous city comprehensive plans as well, are all consistent with the amendments that are being proposed this evening. So these amendments I'm going to walk you through are included in the materials that you've received. I'm using the bullet points that are in the memo, and I just thought it might be helpful to walk you through each one of these. So the amendments include the protection and preservation of natural resources in the purpose statement of the ordinance. This is per the state MPC and is consistent with that. Number 2, it allows for the deferral of subdivision and land development plans to adjoining municipalities under certain conditions, specifically when the primary taxing body is not the city, and when the majority of the parcel lies in another municipality, we would have the option of deferring land development if we so chose. Number 3, we are updating the submission requirements to emphasize digital submissions and reduce paper submissions. Excuse me, and also adjust to new city workflows under COVID-19. Number 4, require developers to submit a community benefits survey prior to plan recordation that explains how the development addresses mixed income housing, sustainable design, vibrant streetscape, transportation choice, and economic opportunities. I've started this one because, as I mentioned at the committee meeting, there was a small amendment to the original document that you received at that committee meeting. This is the before and after for that text. So the original text asked to include the benefit survey as an appendix to the land development ordinance. But in this scenario, the latest ordinance and the one that I've provided to Ms. Miller as an exhibit does allow for the for the Department of Community Planning and Economic Development to alter the survey from time to time rather than having it go back to City Council for changes. We thought this would provide flexibility so that we could change the survey to the needs of changing development conditions. Number 5, their proposed amendments also include lighting design standards to avoid nuisance glare and light pollution, and including the possible requirement of vegetative screening. Number 6, require a portion of native plants and trees in all landscape plan submissions and prohibit the use of species that are designated as invasive or emerging invasive species according to the state of Pennsylvania. I've started this one for the same reason as the one earlier. There was a small amendment to this section from the original ordinance you received at the council committee meeting earlier this month. And this is the before and after text. Originally, we were proposing 75% of all trees, shrubs, and herbaceous species and ground covers to be native plants. And now we are actually reducing that slightly after receiving some really helpful guidance from local designers. We have 50% of all trees, shrubs, and herbaceous species and ground covers will be native. And then the other percentages remain 25% street trees and 100% of trees within riparian buffers. Number 7, we're proposing to require all street trees along all public right-of-ways for all subdivision and land development plans, and promoting the preservation of existing trees and fulfilling this requirement. Number 8, also expanding the topics requiring an environmental impact report to include surface water, steep slopes, historical, cultural, and archaeological sites as designated by local, state, and federal government. Number 9, align bicycle and pedestrian standards with the city's active transportation plan and best practices. And finally, number 10, resolving several technical issues, some of which are caused by the age of the ordinance, references to state law and required coordinate systems and other mundane things. The ordinance was last amended in 2015. So that's it in way of the presentation. I'm happy to go back to any of the slides that you might have questions about. I don't think at this time I have anything else to add. Chris, is there anything that you would like to add to this?
Thank you, Douglas. I don't think I do at the moment. I know that we covered this during the committee meeting, and I appreciate that you took some time to actually highlight the different categories of changes. I know that we provided the memo as well, which has more detailed text. So if there are any specific questions that the counselors have, we can absolutely not only go back to specific slides, but we can dig into the memo or into the ordinance itself if we want to, if that's helpful in any way.
One more item. I should mention that I did provide documents to Ms. Miller for including as exhibits in the public hearing. So I'll just mention those. We have Exhibit 1, that is the memo that council received. Exhibit 2 are the Planning Commission minutes from September 16th when they formally recommended the amendments to City Council. Exhibit 3 is the saldo amended ordinance with a couple of changes that I brought to your attention this evening. Also Exhibit 4, the saldo redlined document, just showing the exact text that was changed. And also Exhibit 5, this saldo presentation that I provided you tonight.
Oh, and Douglas, the last thing that I might mention, just at the outset of the presentation, I had mentioned that this is something that you've worked on for quite a while, and just wanted to note that this was really a culmination of issues and potential improvements that arose over the course of a period of years in working through specific land development applications. So often what happens is we notice that something in the ordinance is old, or maybe it's not meeting a particular policy objective. And so Douglas has done, I want to give him credit, he's done a good job at collating these various issues over time and has put them together whole cloth to make updates to the ordinance right now. As we mentioned at the committee meeting, we do expect that there may be other substantive changes to the saldo that are, especially those that may be policy oriented after we complete the update to the comprehensive plan. The items that are in the saldo update this go around tend to be either definitive policy changes that we know now that we've learned through our process and don't really require additional community engagement, or in some cases we have gotten some guidance from the counselors or other stakeholders that have helped us move in this direction, and then the other items just tend to be technical in nature, as Douglas mentioned. So we've got kind of a collection of different types of changes and amendments here, but all add up to really what we've learned over the last few years.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you for that thorough presentation. Because this is, and unless I missed a step, because this is a public hearing, are there any council comments on what's been presented? Are there any such comments from the public on the presentation that we've just heard?
I'm sorry, Mr. President, if I can ask a question?
Councilor Arroyo, of course.
Just Mr. Delphs or Mr. Smith, regarding the community benefit survey, is that in its final form? And I guess a follow-up question to that, if there were any suggestions from any community stakeholders or council for potential changes in the future, what could that process look like?
That's a great question. Douglas, do you want to start first in terms of the procedural? It really depends on how we're looking at this amendment that Douglas has proposed. We have worked on the details of of this for several weeks now, and it is in a form that we feel quite comfortable with. We think it meets all of our objectives. That said, we do think that having some flexibility in the survey itself is important. So there's a question about what's in the ordinance and then ultimately what is in the survey document, which is an addendum. So maybe Douglas, do you want to speak to just that procedural difference a little bit? If I'm asking the question the right way.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure what the question is you're asking. Maybe you could restate it.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. We should have choreographed. So Councilmember Arroyo, I think your question was really around further changes to the ordinance or further changes to the survey itself.
My apologies, to the survey itself. So I know that's kind of a living document. So if it could change after this ordinance passes, if there were any suggestions from community stakeholders that had maybe ideas for new questions or some changes to questions in the future, what would that process look like for engaging?
Right. I think that those would go directly to Douglas as chief planner. And then if they were sensitive in nature, I believe that if he felt it was appropriate, he could bring those to the Planning Commission. But ultimately, the power would reside with the department to make those changes. So they would be recommended by Douglas, and then it would come up to me and I would determine if any changes to the survey would be warranted.
Great, thank you.
Councilor Arroyo, I will add that the survey, we're planning on testing on a few community stakeholders, developers, just to get feedback to your point. We have had a meeting with Landis Communities in which we discussed this and just got a little bit of feedback from them initially. They would be one community stakeholder that we could provide this document to, since they've looked at providing affordable housing in the city on West King Street. So we plan to go through a little bit of that before we start to use the survey. I believe the second reading of this is planned for second week of November, and then wouldn't go into effect for a couple weeks after that. So that's the timeline in which we're working with to finish the document, polish it up, and also have it tested by some stakeholders.
That's great, thank you.
And the last thing I would add is, anecdotally, I don't expect that we would be changing this document frequently. The purpose of the survey is really to compare this data over time and see if we can establish some trends and conclusions that we can apply during the comp plan process, and then to future possibly ordinance changes, other policy changes or ordinance changes. But I think it is important that if we determine that something is needed to change, that we've got that flexibility.
We're good on that front? Okay. Any other comments from council or from the public? Okay, hearing none, I hereby declare this public hearing closed. Thank you, Director Deltz. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you, Ms. Miller, for your time and your work this evening, of course.
Thanks so much, councilors.
All right, this brings us to our legislative agenda, where we'll start with the Heritage Conservation District. Mr. Harris.
Mr. President, we have 3 items this evening. Consider the following applications and recommendations from the Historical Commission for improvements to properties within the Heritage Conservation District. The first of those is Rick Hamilton, owner of 548 to 550 New Holland Avenue. He proposes expansion of the existing buildings to create a new multifamily residential structure with ground floor commercial space. The second is 215 Partners, owner of 215 North Queen Street. They propose infill construction of a new 6-story mixed-use building on a vacant parcel. And then last, we have BE Enterprises LLC, owner of 30 North Water Street, and they propose demolition of the building's rear wings and construction of a 3-story rear addition and a new commercial storefront on the facade. And those applications were all recommended for approval by the Historical Commission.
All right. Counselors, are there any of those that jump out at you or ones that you want to pull out to discuss individually? With council's consent, since they were all recommended for approval by the Historical Commission, I'm happy to take them as a batch, but I'll wait for a motion to that effect.
Right, motion to approve all 3.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Council comments on the motion. Comments from the public. Aw. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I apologize.
I just got home from work. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you know what? You're fine. We need more of that kind of goodwill in our council meeting, so please.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Ms. Beke?
Aye.
Mr. Garcia Molina.
Aye.
Mr. Soto.
Aye.
President Smith-Wato.
Aye.
We all needed a good laugh.
We all really did. That's truer words, Councilor Soto. So thank you for that. Great. So that moves us to ordinances for first reading. Administration Bill number 12, 2020.
Yes, Mr. President. An ordinance amending the City of Lancaster subdivision and land development ordinance in order to incorporate certain text changes that include the protection and preservation of natural resources in the purpose statement, provide for the deferral of land development approvals in certain cases, reduce paper submissions, require a community benefit survey, improve lighting standards to limit glare and light pollution, incorporate native vegetation landscaping species selection and prohibit invasive species, require street trees along all public streets for all subdivision and land developments, encourage tree planting and preservation, broaden the requirement for environmental impact studies, integrate best practices for bicycle and pedestrian planning, and improve administration of the ordinance and improve consistency with other city ordinances. The title, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. I'll hear a motion.
Motion to approve?
It's a first reading.
Oh, it is?
God.
Yeah.
It is. God bless you, Councilor Beke. Thank you.
Got me excited for a moment there.
Sorry about that, Douglas. Great. Are there any council comments on this ordinance, which is definitely a first reading and does not need to be voted on tonight?
Just want to say it's long overdue.
Hear, hear. Any comments from the public? All right, hearing none. Thank you all very much for your time on this matter, which moves us to the second public comment period, which is open for comment about issues not on the agenda. So here's the rules, and I want to be excruciatingly clear about this. You're sharing your full name, first and last, and the municipality in which you live, and the street and the 100 block on which you live. So for example, let's say I I was saying that I, was making a comment, and my name is Ismail Smith Waddell, and I live on the 300 block of College Avenue in the city of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And because we've had some issues on that in the past, if you're not willing to do that at the top of your comment, I'm going to have Ms. Strazo remove you from the meeting. There's just, only so much sort of nonsense we can play around that thing. And this is just information that we collect for important legal purposes. So please and thank you. Anyway, your comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please start with your name and address. And if you do want to make a comment, there's a little raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. Thanks. Hey. We have Mitch Nugent. Please add Mitch. Mitch, you're already in. Mitch, what's going on?
Yes, I simply first off wanted to say, yes, my name is Mitch Nugent. I'm here as the producer of Prima Theater and as a Lancaster City resident on the 700 block of Marietta Ave.
Love that. Thank you.
Simply, yes, love our neighborhood and simply exploring opportunities to help our community be the best it can be for all citizens. So simply sitting in, happy to offer, simply wanted to say my encouragement to the heartfelt work of each of you as council members have been engaged in amidst this perhaps best to say unparalleled year. And so so grateful to watch some past meetings and to engage in this current moment to offer my encouragement to the work you're doing. So here to y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Nugent. We appreciate it. Did you have anything else? Mitch?
I had lowered my hand, so I figured I was gone. No, that is it. Thank you for the time.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Nugent.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, I believe that brings us to the report of the mayor. Mayor Sirachi, please.
Very good. Good evening, councilors. Thank you. Glad to see all of you. And very much looking forward to November 3rd. There's been a lot of preparations that are happening around City Hall as a polling place and across the city, just encouraging everyone to get out and vote. Okay, my report. Last week, I participated in a panel discussion with other local elected leaders, including Councilor Arroyo. We were asked to name our #1 priority. Certainly, the COVID pandemic is high on the list, especially as we see our numbers climbing locally and across the state. Today, in fact, we set another daily record. And unless we are able to collectively do what we need to do, which is wear masks, practice social distancing, we are at risk, great risk, of losing the gains we have made that will directly impact our local economy and the ability of our children to return to school. And I want to just underscore how important it is that all of our kids here in the school district of Lancaster have the opportunity to return to school. And that means that it is incumbent upon all of us to do everything that we can to help ensure that they are able to safely do so, as well as the many, many teachers and other staff who work to make that a possibility every day. Please make no mistake that COVID is a pressing priority. However, I am confident that we will succeed in winning the fight against COVID eventually. This does not mean that the next weeks and months won't be hard. They most certainly will. People will continue to become infected and unfortunately die as a result of COVID. Right now, in fact, one of our staff members is expecting to lose their father at any moment due to COVID. They said goodbye on FaceTime. Please do not let us lose sight of how our everyday behaviors have the power to affect others and the loss of loved ones in our community. Back to the question I was asked, what is my number one priority? My response, in fact, was racial equity. COVID will fade, but racial inequities will remain long after COVID is in our rearview mirror. Back in June, I wrote an op-ed urging us to put the same energy and commitment to ending racism as we are addressing COVID. We know that racial inequities underpin the very fabric of our nation and require deliberate commitment and action to dismantle. My job to build a stronger and more equitable Lancaster block by block is impossible when significant parts of our community are left out of our collective well-being. Remember, Lancaster, this is what we have set out to address together. I am heartened by the many efforts that are happening in our community, and most especially tonight with the Community Police Working Group. If you read the vision statement and mission and the core values of that group, this is what that is pointing to. How are we going to continue to have conversations about race in our community? How are we going to continue to have conversations about racial equity and policing in our community? These are all conversations that are being rooted in the Community Police Working Group, and to which I am very grateful for all of their efforts. In addition, the city has made clear that commitments to racial equity across all of our operations. And I appreciate greatly the members of the executive leadership team who have put forward commitments in each and every one of their departments. Those commitments made on June 5th and on August 11th to you city council members can also be found on the city's homepage. Yes, these commitments relate to policing. Yes, they relate to the Community Police Working Group, but as well to every other aspect of our operations, and I do not want to lose sight of that. In addition, I'd like to talk with you about the search for our next police chief. Our search process will serve to further define the vision of our police bureau and to ultimately identify candidates who can best implement those commitments as they relate to Lancaster City and policing. And I did share with members of council an outline, and I have received feedback from a number of you, and I'm continuing to gather feedback. But for the purposes of sharing this with the public tonight, I'd like to recap what the proposed process is. So this is a brief overview of the search process that we're embarking on. And again, I ask for your participation and support. First step, we will conduct a series of community listening sessions to determine the characteristics and attributes desired in the city's next chief of police. This will include neighborhood groups, community benefit organization representing key stakeholder groups, and more. The Community Police Working Group will help facilitate these sessions. Surveys will be available for those who are unable to attend sessions but have feedback to offer. And we will share the feedback with these sessions on a dedicated webpage. Based on this input, we will develop a job description and identify key priorities for a new leader. This will be shared with council, Community Police Working Group, and the public. Number 3, we will post the job description and application online, including but not limited to the following professional organizations: the Hispanic American Police Command Officers Association, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, the National Association of Asian American Law Enforcement Commanders, the National Association of Women Law Enforcement Executives, National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, and the Police Executive Research Forum. Number 4, we will hire a recruitment consultant who can help us identify candidates who could potentially fulfill the desired attributes. I am currently in the process of identifying potential consultants who can assist us in actively identifying candidates and prospective applicants as part of a nationwide search. I have been aided in this process so far by talking to other mayors who have recently completed a search and are in the midst of a search now. I want to underscore that the role of this consultant is to take the community feedback, the attributes, the job description, and to seek out candidates to submit an application for consideration. The 5th point is that we will retain a background investigation firm to conduct investigation of candidates under consideration. Number 6, we will select an interview panel comprised of, at a minimum, residents, businesses, business owners, clergy, police union representatives, district attorney's office, Community Police Working Group members, and city council to review applications, identify candidates for interview, and present me with 2 to 3 candidates for final interviews and selection. Lastly, the final candidate will be brought forward to City Council for a vote of consent. This is the process that I am proposing to identify our next chief of police. And let me just underscore that there will be multiple opportunities for the residents of the city of Lancaster and other key stakeholders to engage in this process, either through these community listening forums or through a survey, as well as by sharing feedback directly with me. We are committed to taking the time needed to make the right decision for the future of our city. And in the meantime, we're also exploring the option of an interim chief to support the Bureau during this time of transition. I look forward very much to working with you, members of City Council, and the public as we proceed in this process. Thank you. That concludes my report, President.
Thank you, Mayor Sirachi. I believe that makes it time for my report. I will endeavor to keep it brief. First of all, I do want to thank the mayor for her affirmative steps toward delivering the public safety that all residents of Lancaster City need and deserve. And frankly, it's not easy, or rather, it is very easy, as well I know, to throw stones from the sidelines. It is not easy to balance all of the competing constituencies, even of a city of our size, and still deliver, or even take steps to deliver an affirmative approach to public safety, which sometimes comes with some bumps along the way. So I applaud you for that, Mayor, and for your plan for the leadership of the police bureau. Stepping away from that briefly, as the mayor said, it is November 3rd, very, very, very soon. And I would encourage everybody that has not already voted by mail to make an immediate plan to vote. And if you have a plan to vote, I'm going to ask you for a personal favor. Identify one person in your network who does not have a plan to vote and take them to vote. Make sure that they vote that day as well. There's been a lot of sort of nonsense and intrigue cast around this election. And the thing that we need to know, not so that one party can win over another, but the thing that we need to know to have ongoing confidence in our democracy at this pivotal point in all of our lifetimes is that as many people were able to vote as could, and that all of their votes were counted. And some of that relies on, some of that lies with your elected officials. Some of that lies with the Board of Elections. And there's a small part of that, friends, that lies with you. So I'm personally asking you, as a favor to me, if that means anything, and as a favor to your community, please get out and vote on November 3rd if you have not already. Finally, it's about to be November. We're coming to the close of the year. Budget season is coming up, and I think that's really important because we want you all to understand that what we do in your best interest, and we want you to understand all of the ways in which, frankly, it's hard to keep this ship upright, because this is money that you pay, and there are services that you rightly desire and demand, and it is always a challenge to figure out how to provide those services. So this is an opportunity for you to be a more informed public instead of a less informed public. So we're gonna ask you to please stay engaged. And I've missed a step with the election coming up, and with an infinite amount of information on social media leading up to and after the election. We're going to ask you to fact check. fact check twice. Make sure the information that you're sharing to social media about elections, about the president, about this, that, and the other, make sure that it's accurate, because if you're on Facebook, almost certainly there are at least a couple of people who trust you and look to you for information. And we're going to ask you to do that with the utmost responsibility. So, please take that in hand. You are a purveyor of knowledge in this space. And I'm going to endeavor to do so as well. I'm going to terminate my report here, though I may have some comments if there are any other additional council comments. So, councilors, I'm going to open it to you for a moment. So seeing that there were no council comments, I'll just wrap up. So over the past couple of days, I've been in communication with healthcare providers, in particular contacts at the Lancaster Health Center. As you've all seen, the COVID positive rate is spiking again in Pennsylvania and in Lancaster County. And like I said at the top of the meeting, it's time to take it seriously. Please wear your mask, socially distance, wash your hands, hand sanitize. If you must gather, do it outside instead of indoors. And do go ahead and get tested. The spike that we're seeing in COVID positive rates is still apparent in the data, even though only 19% of us have been tested. So when you think about what it would look like if we were testing at a 50% rate, as relates to similar, other states that we neighbor, that lets you know exactly how much we may be undercounting. So it's important for us all to get tested. There is an increased availability of asymptomatic testing available in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I'll tell you, I am regularly getting tested via CVS. You can also get tested through Lancaster Health Center and a variety of other options. They tend to be free with insurance, Medicare, Medicaid. Please, please, please go out and get tested. I can tell you that getting arrangements, scheduling a test takes a couple of minutes. You can do it on your phone. You can do it on your laptop. Go get tested so that you can be sure that you're being safe in all your interactions. And I can't be strenuous enough about that. If you look back through the news of the year, you'll see a number of incidents where one person went to an event and 19 or 25 or 35 people were infected. And if each of those people who are infected infects two other people, who infects two other people, who infects two other people, and we've got a pandemic on our hands like we already do. So I hope that you'll forgive me for taking much longer in my president's report than I originally promised, but I cannot emphasize this enough. It is going to be a long, hard winter from both a public health and a financial perspective in the best of times. And we can have the best of times if we all come together. But if we don't, we will have something closer to the worst of times. So I'm asking for your help in avoiding that. And I'm done. Any other council comments? Going once, going twice. I'll hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.